This meeting of Senate Budget Subcommittee number 1 on Education Finance. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here. We're starting a few minutes late. We had agreed to start later than announced because of the Republican caucus, but my Republican colleague, Senator Morlock, was the first one to arrive. I want to thank you for that. Senator Allen will be here shortly. We will begin as a 2-member committee. In today's hearing, we have 4 issues we're going to be discussing. The first is the Adult Education Block Grant, followed by the K-14 Education Mandates, followed by Prop 39 Energy Efficiency Projects, and finally, Career Technical Education Incentive Grants. We don't foresee taking any votes today. We'll be getting a lot of information on many of these issues. We'll be getting more detailed information later in the month or a couple months. And we will certainly be voting on these items as we move along. Because we're not voting on any of the items, we will take public comment on all items at the end of the agenda today. With that, I want to invite up our first panel, Natasha Collins from the Legislative Analyst's Office, Jessica Holmes from the Department of Finance, Chris Nelson from the, will it be Deborah Brown for Department of Education? It will be. And Deborah Jones from the California Community Colleges. And if there are additional staff, you can sit on either side of the table up on the dais. And again, our first issue is the Adult Education Block Grant, and we'll begin with Ms. Collins from the Legislative Analyst's Office.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. I believe the sergeant's distributing our handout. Natasha Collins, Legislative Analyst's Office. We were asked to provide a brief overview and background of adult education and the Adult Education Block Grant. Page 2 provides a description of adult education, and as you may know, adult education typically serves adults in instruction in areas such as basic skills in math and English, vocational skills, English as a second language, and some other areas. Page 3 provides information about the former way that the state offered adult education. As now, community colleges and school district adult schools are the most common providers. Historically, however, this has been with little coordination between the two. This is not surprising because the state treated the two entities very different in the ways that it funded education either. The state had a categorical program for adult education at adult schools and provided funding for community college adult education through community college apportionments. Moreover, various policies differed between the two segments, specifically assessment and placement policies, student identifiers, fees, and instructor qualifications. In recognition of this disconnect, in 2013-14, and with the goal of better coordination between the two segments in 2013-14, the state provided $25 million for providers to form regional adult education consortia. And these consortia were required for the next 2 years to use the funds to document existing services, identify unmet needs, and develop regional plans to coordinate and deliver adult education within their regions. There was an expectation that the state would provide ongoing adult education funding starting in 15-16. True to that, as described on page 5, the state in 2015-16 provided $500 million in ongoing Proposition 98 funding for the Adult Education Block Grant. The funds were allocated to 71 regional consortia whose boundaries largely coincided with community college district service areas. Members of consortia consisted of school and adult schools and community colleges, county offices of education, and joint powers agencies. Each formal member has a designee that is part of the governing board, and each consortia determines their own governance structure with approval by the state. Each consortia was required to update a 3-year regional plan that guided all activities and spending within the regional consortia. The plans were required not only to include plans for how the money would be spent, but also expected service And also, they were required to include all public funding for adult education within their region, including federal funding, community college apportionments, and fees. Lastly, each consortia was required to determine whether they would like to receive their funding directly as a provider through the community colleges or CDE, or receive it through the consortia through their fiscal agent. Lastly, the adult education block grant required the CDE and the community colleges to report to the state annually about each consortia's plan, their allocation schedule, their types and levels of service, and in the future on their performance and effectiveness in meeting needs of their region. Page 6 describes how funding was distributed in 2015-16. First, entities received funding in a hold harmless provision that provided adult education, adult school providers with the same funding that they received in 2012-13. This totaled $337 million in 15-16. The remainder of the funding, or the second part, went out based on need. This was $163 million, and it was distributed to consortia based on their statewide share of regional need. Starting in 16-17, in addition to these two factors, effectiveness is another factor to be used in determining block grant distribution. On page 7, as I mentioned earlier, consortia plans are required to include other funding within their region that goes towards adult ed in consideration of their statewide plan. These includes things like federal funding, community college apportionments, and fees between either segment. Page 9 provides the specific areas, the 7 areas that are authorized for spending of adult education block grant dollars. I'll just skip over that quickly. And page 9 provides a timeline of reporting activities for the adult ed block grant. I'll direct your attention to an upcoming report, which is due July 1st of 2016, that requires the Commission on Teacher Credentialing and the Community College Academic Senate to make recommendations for establishing reciprocity standards between adult education instructors such that they can move and teach between either segment and have the qualifications to do so. Page 10 identifies some issues for legislative consideration as the state moves forward with implementation of a coordinated approach to adult education. First, in early 2015, the superintendent and chancellor were required to provide recommendations to the legislature on ways to better align various policies pertaining to adult education with adult schools and community colleges. These included consistent fee policies, common student identifiers, and alignment of assessment instruments. The report was submitted, but fell short in providing actionable recommendations to the legislature. In recognition of this, the trailer bill language accompanying the adult education block grant again required the two entities to report on their progress towards aligning policies in late 2015. This report was very similar to the report that was previously submitted in that it described what the current policies pertaining to these areas are, but did not make firm recommendations for aligning said policies. We have a similar concern with a report that was released earlier this year that required the superintendent and chancellor to make recommendations for how to coordinate federal adult education funding within the consortia. The report deferred action on the item indefinitely, pending the release of federal regulations and the reauthorization of a federal program which has not yet been scheduled. Our second concern is that while we have gotten feedback that many consortia have coordinated services well and operated in the way we believe was envisioned by the consortia effort, we've also heard that others have coordinated less well. This appears to be particularly true in areas where providers have opted to receive their funding directly from the community colleges or the CDE rather than through their consortia's fiscal agent. Lastly, as we did last year, we again raised concerns about adult education and how it fits in with the state's other workforce education and training programs. While there appears to be progress in coordinating the numerous and various workforce programs the state operates, there continues to be these numerous programs, many with discrete reporting and planning requirements, data systems, and regions. Moreover, the governor has proposed creating another workforce program that could add an additional layer of planning and reporting, a proposal that you'll be hearing more about in a hearing in early April. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Next, we'll move to Department of Finance, Jessica Holmes.
Thank you. Jessica Holmes, Department of Finance. For the adult education block grant, the 2016-17 governor's budget maintains the $500 million in Proposition 98 funding included in the 2015 Budget Act. We continue to monitor program implementation and will consider further funding in future budgets.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. Moving now to Department of Education. So it's not going to be Mr. Nelson at any of these? It's always going to be Deb?
Yes, at this one.
Okay.
Thank you. Good. Still morning. Deborah Brown with the Department of Education. And I'll try to build on what Ms. Collins talked about in terms of the adult ed block grant. And then I know my colleague, another Deborah, Ms. Jones, will also provide some additional details. And so what I will say is that the Department of Education and the community college have worked really well together on this block grant, and it's really been a collaborative effort, which I know is one of the things that has not been so in the past. And so there are 71 regional consortiums, as was mentioned, and that the $500 million, so that's both for community college and LEAs, for 2015-16, and of that, the department has released approximately $337 million to school districts and county offices of education based on the maintenance of effort funding, and that was released in August of 2015. The CDE also distributes funding to the 12 school districts and 3 county offices of education that are serving as the fiscal agents for their consortium. And so $38 million was apportioned in December 2015, and approximately $25 million is being processed to be apportioned this month. And so that's for a total of $63 million apportioned during this fiscal year. So the Adult Education Block Grant Office, which is a collaboration of program staff from the Department of Education and the Community College Chancellor's Office, has developed and provided numerous guidance documents to help the regional consortia during this implementation phase. And all of these documents are available on the Adult Education Block Grant website. The office has also worked to identify and share practices with promise, which showcase some of the consortia program success stories. Current research that may help the consortia plan and address individual and regional needs is monitored by the Block Grant Office and provided to the local consortium. So these reports include Employment Development Department Regional Economic Analysis Profiles, the Urban Institute's Accelerating Opportunity Initiative Report. The department and the Chancellor's Office have issued the Adult Education Block Grant Common Measures of Effectiveness Report, and the report identifies indicators of compliance for evaluating consortia effectiveness for the 15-16 fiscal year. And the report is also available on the website. We are aware that there is still work to do in the area of student data, data systems, and data collection. And the Block Grant Office has had several meetings with experts and representatives on student data, data systems, and data collection to discuss what data will be collected, the feasibility of collecting the data, and the option for collecting selected data elements necessary to meet the statutory reporting requirements. In addition, we're discussing with the experts how to align the state requirements with the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act requirements in a manner that will not create additional burden on local agencies. And I know Ms. Jones will provide more information, and I also have Mr. Russ Weichel here, who's the Director of Career and College Transition from the department, if you have any further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Moving now to California Community Colleges, Deborah Jones.
Good morning, thank you. Deborah Jones from the Community Colleges office. So I want to talk a little bit about what the locals have been doing. There are 5 best practices that have come forward. One is a math prep program in Orange County, and it's a 2-week quick learn program that prepares students from the adult school to be ready to take regular math classes at the community college. There's also a co-location for community college credit in Solano area. San Bernardino has instituted transition counselors. Plumas County has a digital badging for soft skills. They work very closely with their employers. And in the Mother Lode, there's a dual professional development program that's been established in these last years of planning and implementation. I want to talk a little bit about Phase 1 interim data collection and reporting system. We were asked in AB 104 to report on how many students are being served, how many demonstrate improved literacy skills, completion of high school diploma, completion of post-secondary certificates, degrees, and training, placement into jobs, and improved wages. We added one indicator, and that's the transition indicator, so that we know when a student has left the K-12 program that they're coming to the community college program. This information will be reported in July 30th. It is an interim temporary system, data reporting system, until we have an established system, and that's what we're working on, with aligning with the rest of the state agencies on a federated data system where each institution reports data, and the necessary reports are then calculated and given to where they're going, WIA for CDE, back to the community colleges for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jones. Yeah, the kind of collaboration we're seeing, I think, is exactly what we've hoped for. Question on the timing, though. On page 9 of the LAO report, there is a chart that lists actions and timelines, deadlines. Under planning and reporting, the one-time reports, the second one listed was a progress report from the chancellor and superintendent due November 1st. Do you remember when it was actually received or sent? Either of you?
Is that the effectiveness measures?
Right, the November 1 deadline report.
Okay, that was not an official report. That was to identify the measures of effectiveness for consortia, and that was posted on the website early November.
Okay, good. And thank you for that. The January 31st plan on distributing funds for federal programs?
The January 31st report is still being edited. It's with the communications, but a draft was submitted at the pre-hearing. So
Oh.
that should be posted in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
So the January 31st report we should get by April 1st?
Yes.
Okay, now that's obviously at least a couple months late. There's another report due July 1st. Will that be on time, do you imagine?
Yes, and the Academic Senate and the Commission on Teacher Credentialing have been meeting throughout this, and we'll have a report ready.
Okay, great.
And then finally, we have a report due September 30th, and that's the culmination of all of the work that we've done. There's an evaluator that's helping us, so not only will you get a history of what's been done, you get an evaluation of what's been done and recommendations as we move forward, and that's September 30th.
And September 30th is a pretty hard deadline, too? You're going to be able to
That
make
is
that?
a hard
Okay,
deadline.
good. Appreciate that. Any other members have questions?
I'm just curious on the 500 million for this current year. When will that be audited? Does the state auditor come through on a annual, biennial, just to see how the money's being spent?
Do you mean when will it be audited as part of local?
Right, just to see
Auditing.
where it's going. We using it for what we dedicated it to?
So July 30th, a report is due from the locals. They have been reporting quarterly about their expenditures and their activities. July 30th, they'll report a roll-up of expenditures by program area and by individual member in that consortia.
Thank you.
So that will be in our September 30th report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Senator Morlock. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, I want to thank and excuse this panel and call our next panel, Rebecca Hamilton from the Department of Finance, Dan Kaplan from the Legislative Analyst's Office, Deborah Brown will stay up here from the Department of Education. Oh, wait a second. The chair will strike that. Where do we have that? Okay. This is the second panel on issue 1. I was calling the panel on issue 2. So the second panel on issue 1 is Bill Betancourt, who's a principal from Placer School for Adults, and Susan Yamada, who is the director of the San Diego Adult Education Regional Consortium. So if you two would please come up. Apologize, you probably wondered for a minute there why I skipped you. This is to give us kind of a local perspective on how the collaboration is going and where we are with the adult education block grant from local perspective. Okay, and we'll begin with Mr. Betancourt.
Good morning. Do I need to press that? Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here to share. We're excited, and let me start my phone because I promised myself to keep it to 5 to 7 minutes as requested. We've done so much good work that I felt it would be best to give you some good information that you could follow up with if you have more questions, because I can't cover it all quickly enough. But following the questions that were presented to me, the members you'll see there: Placer School for Adults in Auburn, Roseville Adult School in Roseville, Nevada Union in Grass Valley, Sierra College. We have 3 campuses: Rockland, Grass Valley, and Tahoe Truckee. We've just added a new member, part of filling the gaps, reaching out and finding those places that need services. We've added a new member, Tahoe Truckee, already this year, and are continuing to build some new classes in our programs even now. We're serving approximately 7,100 students, and that's data that we gathered at a reporting time in I think that date's incorrect. I think it was 13-14. My apologies, instead of 12-13. You've got some handouts that you can browse at your leisure. Catalog of classes from 2 of our schools, a partner list that shows the members and a long list of partners. A question about the governance. I've given you a document there that shows our bylaws and our org chart, and somewhere deep in there is also our 3-year comprehensive plan. Much more reading than you really care to have, I'm sure. But I thought, let me see if I can not just overload you, but share the good work we're doing. Decisions we make through consensus, and it's working very well for us. Each of the members would be the 3, now 4 adult schools, and then the community college. So we have 5 members represented there. We've just had our first public meeting yesterday, and that went very well. The question about who is your fiscal agent and how has that worked? We're working with Roseville Adult School as our fiscal manager, fiscal agent, and it's worked very well for us. How are services split up among the members? Who offers what? Is there overlap, and are there fee-based programs? Each of the adult schools is still maintaining ESL, high school completion, GED prep, etc., because of the communities they're serving. They're close to those communities, and it's not redundant. It's necessary to meet the needs of each community. Placer School for Adults has a fairly robust adult ed CTE program. Naturally, Sierra College is much larger and more programs at that level. The Placer School for Adults had a fee-based program. It's migrated to become a fee-based program. It came out of another era when we had older adults as a robust program. And when shifts in budget came and changed, we migrated that into a fee-based program, hitting those price points that people could still afford. And so that's an ongoing, robust program. We have ongoing discussions about how adult ed could still support pre-college intervention courses. Lots of discussions among our consortium about how to best coordinate efforts instead of in reducing any duplication and redundancies. And those have been well received. We've met with the Sierra College Academic Senate to keep everyone informed there as well. Question 5, and I think you're following me as well on this that I've given you too. Thank you. Significant need in the area, and that's just one example. And it's almost a bloated number of 35,000 ESL students. That's from census data. We know that we can't serve them all, or maybe they don't want service, but just an example for you. The region is large. We go from Roseville area clear up to Tahoe North Shore. We're excited about the new venture with Tahoe Truckee. They've already, just yesterday we heard they've added 60 students into the program already. We're trying to bring support and programs back to the smaller schools in the area, Rockland and Lincoln, who discontinued their adult programs during those flexibility years. Naturally, we're all scurrying about trying to find places to build classes, so we're looking at cohabitating, oftentimes in our partner agency buildings. An example of that is we're working closely with Golden Sierra Connections in Auburn and Roseville. And let me save that for success. Okay, let me move through this carefully. Question about how are additional funds being used. We received $1.1 million. And early discussions, before there was any money to be known, we didn't know how much we'd get. Everybody was working in good faith. The thought was, depending on how much we have, let's find a way to begin to bring back support and services at a 20 or 30 or 50% rate, depending on how much was given to the consortium. So with the amount of money we received, each of those existing 3 schools got 50% restoration of funds, not restoration of the old program, but trying to bring back something that they could begin to build and plan and implement with solid vision, solid implementation. And you know, the layout, the rollout of the funding was mid-year, so our best energy with big dreams can't be fulfilled in 1 year. On to number 6, how are additional funds, oh no, I'm there, excuse me. The consortium, after spreading it between each of the members, the consortium maintained almost $300,000, and that was to support more global consortium plans. And some of those are listed there: marketing, some joint professional development, the Tahoe Truckee project. We've gone with a part-time consultant. Some places have actually hired full-time consultants, an outsider to come in and help you learn how to run your program. And we were just too close to it, and we thought, we can't let that go to somebody who really doesn't know our program. So we've been working diligently. A wonderful part-time consultant who came out of Sierra College, partly retired, but ready to continue working in some capacity. And she's been a gem to help and support with our writing and keeping us focused and on target. So I think we've been very frugal through those planning years and planning dollars and even into the new money. And I'm looking at my time. Very close.
You can take your time and you can finish.
Oh,
That's
okay,
fine.
thank you. Can I reach for a sip of water too, please? What unique... Thank you. What's unique about our services? We submitted a practice with promise, and that was involving our ESL program, and it was bringing our adult school staff together with the community college staff to review components of curriculum, assessments, where do we end up, where we stop, and where does the college pick up. And we needed to align some curriculum and assessments so that we could better support that transition into the college. And that's leading to a bridge course so that people are getting closer to be ready, so that the whole catalyst about timing in community college, how much time do they have now, that's been tightened up, and reasonably so. So we're working carefully with the college to have them ready for college when they arrive. Some expansion into partner buildings. Golden Sierra, for instance, we need our students to go through their building for the support they get through job hunting, et cetera. So we've helped, and this is where the braided funding and levering resources comes into play. They had a small computer room, needed some upgrades. We bought like 12 computers so that we can now hold classes in there when it's not being used by them. They're not in there at night at all. There are days when they don't need the room. So they were thrilled to have us as a partner that way. We've been working on one of our programs, is well received and is growing significantly, and libraries have asked us to come into their buildings. Placer County Employment Service says, can you do that here for us in Rockland? We're in Auburn, and we said, yes, let's find a place. You have a room in your building? If not, let me search for something. So we've been beating the bushes for that, and we know that will launch in the fall, if not sooner. So that's leveraging the resources. We could say $12,000, $15,000 into some equipment, but they're taking care of rent and heating and air conditioning and lights. Marketing plan, we've been thoughtful in rolling out something that would help us in multiple ways to reach out to those adults that don't know about adult ed even now. You know, as much as you do, people don't always know about you.
And could you highlight just a handful of the many successes and then spend a little bit of time on the challenges?
Thank you, yes. I think just every meeting we have, it's filled with some great energy, and the focus is on collaboration. Some of the things that we have done, I probably have mentioned already, working with Golden Sierra and working with the local college campuses, the outreach into areas that are not yet being served or fully served. Working closely with WIA and the Workforce Development Board. I've been talking with someone that I interface with on the board, and we're trying to bring a training center into the area. There's 4 in the area, not in our area, but in the valley and up through areas that are supporting the farm workers. And in talking with him, I said, can we bring it up here? And he's excited, I'm excited. Now we're looking at how to do that. Again, He'd bring equipment, we'd bring teachers in, we'd blend our materials. The added position, we've added a position, number 17, a new position called the Business Engagement Specialist with Golden Sierra. It's like a $75,000 position. We're working collaboratively in helping to co-fund that, and that person will help support, naturally, the consortium as well as their clients. Challenges, I'll quickly wrap this up, is just time. Everything we're doing is an added layer upon good work that you do already automatically every day. You're busy working on your program, maintaining it, and keeping it in excellent condition. And all of the collaboration, outreach, growth is just a new layer, and we're happy to take that on. It's exciting. I feel kind of like a thoroughbred racehorse, just ready to get out of the barn and get back on the track. It's really an exciting time for adult ed to be finding some stable funding and have a vision that you can really grow and build some things back.
Well, thank you for that presentation. Appreciate it. It's good for us to hear how things are actually happening on the ground as well as the larger view. And now we'll move to Susan Yamada from San Diego Adult Education.